All right, I am Jeffrey Robinson, a summer intern for the National Sports Media Association, and today I am joined by Rob Demello. He has won his fifth Hawaii Sportscaster of the Year award with NSMA in 2024. He's been a sportscaster in Honolulu since 2002, has joined KHON2 in 2010. Rob is the creator, producer, and host of Cover 2 Hawaii High School Sports Football Weekly and started a weekly talk show this year called Hawaii Sports Tonight. So very interesting, a lot of stuff to get into. But Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely excited to be able to talk, and we'll just get started. How did you get involved in the sports media industry?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really long story that I'll try to cut and trim some of the fat on it to be able to tell it in a timely fashion. But in high school, I was given an opportunity to meet the sports director at the CBS affiliate here in Honolulu at that time. His name, Neil Everett, who would later go on to ESPN and work for SportsCenter for many years. I was a struggling high school student that always dreamed of being a sportscaster in Hawaii since the time I was 6 years old. I loved playing sports, I loved writing, and at a young age, I was able to figure out that those two together can give you a career. And so it was just always on my mind that that's what I wanted to do. And um, again, a much longer story as to how I met Neil, but the shorter version is I met Neil. I explained my situation as far as what I wanted to do when I got older, but I was struggling in school. Math and science was the bane of my existence as a teenager. And so I was doing great in English and history. I was the editor of the school paper, but I was failing math and science every school year and had to keep going to summer school every year to get to the next grade. And Neil made a deal with me after meeting me that if I improve my grades and I work harder on that math and science and getting it up, that I could come in weekly to the news station that he worked at and try to learn from him. And that was the motivation I needed. And so my grades completely turned around. That kind of internship started on, every Tuesday, and then it turned into Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then it became Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays. Next thing I knew, by the time I graduated high school, I was there almost every single day and just learning from Neil, and he totally took me under his wing. And from there, I got a scholarship to go to Hawaii Pacific University, which is a private school here in Honolulu. And after my first year of school, the ABC affiliate had a job open up. And because I'd been around for by that time, 3 or 4 years, about 4 years, um, they thought of me. And so I didn't even know this job was available. They reached out to me and said, we want you to come work for us. And so I did that, dove headfirst into working at that ABC affiliate where I stayed for um, 8 years. And then the Fox affiliate reached out to me and when my contract was up and had a great opportunity to come over here where I am now at KHON2, and I've been here since 2010 and been the sports director since 2012. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing this. I've been on TV in Hawaii as a sportscaster since the time I was 19 years old. I'm about to be 43, so I've been doing this a lot longer than I haven't been doing it. So I don't even know what life looks like outside of this business.
So what about your relationship, your very close relationship with Neil, made you fall in love with the industry you're a part of now?
Yeah, I think I was already in love with the industry. I think what Neil did was he allowed me to believe that it was possible that I could do it. And I mean, just a total mentor and positive influence on my life. And the interesting thing about Neil and my time that I spent with him, and we talk about this all the time, is there was never really a sit down of this is how you do things. It was more just me being there and watching how he did it. And he always urged me to find my own way of doing the things that he does, find my own voice, find my own style. And really, so just being around Neil all that time, it just gave me confidence. And I think in anything in life, no matter what it is that you want to do, You have to have that confidence that you can do it, and you have to have that confidence in being able to fail too, right? And know that it's going to be okay. Know that sometimes you need to fail in order to find what you're looking for. And so whether it's finding your voice in your read or the way you edit something or the way you tell a story, and it's okay if that first time that you do it, it doesn't come out quite right on how you want it, because that's going to almost unlock things for you to be able to find the style that you're looking for. And so that was the biggest thing that Neil gave to me, was that confidence to learn, and that confidence to get better each day, and look forward to that and embrace that, and know that that each day that things aren't looking the way that you want it to, that's fine, because that's all just going to create the path that you want in order to find that person that you're looking for.
And I think that's such a great, strong thing to learn at such a young age, too. Because people like myself, people a little bit older than me who may be getting out of college or still trying to figure out exactly what you're talking about, that confidence piece. And learning that through middle school, through high school with someone as a role model to be able to model that for you, I think that's great. I'm sure that that really transformed your career and really propelled you forward. So that's awesome. But Hawaii, that's very cool. What about Hawaii sports really makes Hawaii stand out from the rest of from mainland America?
Yeah, Hawaii's a special place, and truth be told, born and raised here. I've never lived anywhere else, so outside of visiting places, I can't really speak to what makes Hawaii different. But in working in this industry in Hawaii, there's a couple of things that the time difference is big, where a lot of the national sports that's going on, by the time I go on set at 6:22 p.m., I mean that stuff is ages old, right? That like those games are completed at 2 p.m. sometimes. You on a Thursday, Major League Baseball games start up at 7 a.m. over here, and so the game's over by 10. And so it makes zero sense to all those hours later to be talking about anything nationally. So it forces you to be 100% local all the time. And in the state of Hawaii, there's a lot of interesting things where the Division I program here at the University of Hawaii is the only Division I program, which is unique to almost every other state, to where there's competition, and you're concentrating on the region you're in or the community that you're in, one of many colleges that are in the state. And here, the University of Hawaii is treated like a professional team because it's the only one. And so a lot of attention goes to that UH program. A lot of attention goes to players that are from Hawaii that end up leaving Hawaii. The easy ones to throw out there: Tua Tagovailoa, Marcus Mariota, Shane Victorino years ago in Major League Baseball, Max Holloway in the UFC. I mean, these are guys, these are athletes that are amongst the most famous and popular people in the entire state. And so even though they're not in Hawaii currently, because maybe they went to another school or they're now in professional sports, people care a lot about what's going on with them. And it's because Hawaii is its own little world. It's so unique in that regards, to where almost what's happening outside of Hawaii just doesn't matter. People just want to know what's going on with Hawaii athletes, Hawaii teams, Hawaii sports, and that's what makes the sports that are popular here in Hawaii, that are different than some other places too, right? Where surfing is a really big deal here, as you could imagine. Volleyball, huge. I mean, you get 10,000 people going to University of Hawaii men's volleyball matches, and women's volleyball matches. And the best way I can explain it is that volleyball replaced hockey everywhere else, right? So there's no hockey here. There's one hockey rink, but it's all just club sports, and there's no high school hockey, or there's no collegiate hockey, there's no professional hockey, and so volleyball replaced hockey out here in the islands, and people are just very prideful about where they're from. The culture here is a legitimate culture, right? Because there's an ethnicity that ties to it. There are people that are Hawaiian blooded, like myself. is not just a place that you're from. It's not I'm a Californian. There are people like me that are Hawaiian living in Hawaii, and other Polynesian races that are within the Pacific that all come to Hawaii as this melting pot. And then you look at culture wise that it was a kingdom, right? I mean, we had a king and we had a queen before we became part of the United States. And so there's a lot of history within the culture and ways of life here that people hang on to and try to perpetuate as the years go on. And I think the Hawaii sports world is tied into that. And that makes Hawaii very unique and very different than other places.
Who is your favorite player growing up in any sport, Hawaii-born player?
Favorite Hawaii-born player growing up, probably Sid Fernandez was a pitcher with the New York Mets in the mid 1980s. And he was, one of the big first professional stars, and there are a handful. Mike Lum came before my time, and Jesse Sapolu was a great NFL football player with the San Francisco 49ers in the 80s and 90s. Sid Fernandez, though, at that time in my life, I was born in 1982, and so he's a star in 1985, 86, 87, 88, 89, and so that's when I'm starting to find a love for baseball. And so I just remember having the baseball card of Sid Fernandez, who I'm actually related to through my father's side, but obviously it's such a vast difference in age. It's not like I grew up with him or anything. But I remember having his baseball card and just always looking at the back and seeing Honolulu, Hawaii, and just thinking that's the coolest thing. And so, just off the top of my head, that was my favorite pro athlete from Hawaii growing up for sure, and long before I got into the business.
What would you say your favorite sport is to cover right now, or just in general?
Yeah, just in general, baseball is my favorite sport, and so I absolutely love baseball season here in the islands, the University of Hawaii, high school baseball, and then of course the major league players that are from Hawaii, the minor league players. We keep tabs on them, and I try to do stories on them to keep people updated because, I mean, any given year there's probably 30 guys from Hawaii that are in the minors, and typically about, in a really good year, you could have up to 10 from Hawaii in the majors. And then other years, I'd say probably over the last 15 years, it's been no less than five at a time. And I think that's where we're at right now is five or six guys in the major leagues. And so I love that aspect of it. Football obviously is huge, and that's king in Hawaii. And so that's fun too, from a standpoint of that people care so much. But if we're just talking favorite sport, baseball it has always been and will always be my favorite sport.
As it should be. I think that's a wonderful sport. College, professional, all of it. Baseball is a great sport, and I'm very,
Yeah.
very happy that you agree with that. I think that's a
All
great thing.
right.
So, moving back into your career, we have Neil. He was a huge part of your career. Is there someone else that you worked with, maybe you're working with now, you worked with before, the affiliate that you're at now in the early 2000s? Is there someone that really influenced you to become who you are today?
Yeah, for sure. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of really great people and great sportscasters. My time at KITV, I worked with Robert Kikaula, who passed away recently. He was the sports director there, just an icon here in the islands. And as I mentioned earlier, he reached out to me when I was interning at that CBS affiliate, KGMB, and going to school, and so he took a chance on me and brought me in, and I learned so much from him. And the biggest thing is from him was attention to detail. He was just very, very just a stickler on just every little detail. And I think that when you're younger, that's the thing that comes last, right? Because you're looking so big picture all the time that it's hard to take a step back and really, go over things in the way that he did. And so that helped me at a young age to be able to find that attention to detail. I also worked with Kanoa Leahy at that ABC affiliate He was the weekend sportscaster when I came in as the number three, and he's just super talented. Came from a legendary sportscasting family in Hawaii, third generation. His grandfather and father are Hawaii Sports Hall of Famers because of their broadcasting career, and just watching him go through his work, which can be an easy thing to do to enter a business where your grandfather and father are already legends. The name here in Hawaii just carries so much weight. There must be an immense pressure that was put on Kanoa at a young age when he started to do this, that have to live up to expectations, and so he's uber talented. He left the news industry and now he's the play-by-play guy for University of Hawaii Sports
Mm.
on Spectrum Sports here in Hawaii, which has the TV contract for all UH sports. And he also does ESPN college basketball during that time of the season, a lot of the West Coast games and a lot of the tournaments that come to Hawaii, like the Diamond Head Classic, Maui Invitational. And so those two guys were huge. And then I'm going to mention a third person who's someone that I hired years ago, Sam Spangler, who played baseball at the University of Hawaii, had zero ties to journalism, to broadcasting. He had graduated in kinesiology, was going to go be a physical trainer. And when Kanoa left to go do his play-by-play gig, I needed to hire someone to work with me. And I covered Sam. And so just from interviewing him over the years and building that relationship, I knew that this guy had a future if he wanted it. And so one day I just reached out to him and asked him if he had any interest in getting into this industry. And almost similarly to what Neil did for me, he told me, yeah, I never thought about it before, but I would be interested. And so I brought him in as an intern and tried to teach him everything I could. And so when, there was a gap between Kanoa telling me that he was leaving and Kanoa leaving. So when that gap closed and it came time for my station to hire somebody, I made sure that Sam was ready for it, and he got hired. And so I worked with him for 6 years. I was the sports director. He was the weekend sports anchor and reporter. And the dude was a tireless worker. And as I mentioned, zero experience, but he just fully immersed himself in the industry and trying to learn so much. And as we speak today, he is the morning show news anchor at our station. And so he was in sports for 6 years and transitioned to news. And I'm just super proud of him. He's one of the best friends I've ever had. He's a great family man and a husband and a father, and great for our station as a news anchor. And so working with him also inspired me because I just saw someone that didn't know much, that was just trying so hard every single day, and it kind of reminds you a little bit about your early days of getting into the industry, and that's very inspirational.
Would you say Neil had a play in that too, as well, being able to show you how you can kind of grow and nurture someone through the early stages of their career and being able to do that with someone else?
Absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier about that, he kind of bred confidence in you. And I hope that I did that for Sam. And I know in talking to Sam, he's mentioned that before, that when he, especially in those early days, that he was never really afraid to fail because he knew that some of those failures were kind of, unlocking things to allow you to find success later. And I tell my children that all the time, is that, like, hey, there's nothing wrong with failing or doing something wrong. The key is making sure you don't do that same mistake twice, right? And so embrace those things. And my daughter plays softball and at the high school level, and we have those conversations all the time, right? As far as like, hey, it's okay. It's okay that you struck out here. It's what did you learn from that at bat? Or even if you lined out to center, like being okay with, hey, it's 0 for 1 on the box score, but you got to be able to feel good walking away from that, and I think those are things that any industry and anything you get into, they all, if you take that mindset to it, I think things become a lot easier, and you really never stop learning that way. Instead of just getting frustrated and shutting down and moving on to the next, if you allow yourself to assess yourself and to learn from some of these things, development just never ends.
Well, the final question I had was, what advice would you give someone like myself who's entering the industry? But you answered that perfectly already. I think that's great. Being able
Well,
to be
I
confident,
do I do have a piece of advice though
right?
for people, and it's along those lines. It's a lot of the people who get into this industry, they love sports, right? And they probably grew up playing sports as well. And we all understand that you don't just show up to games and play in these games. You practice. And some of the others, they go to practice, and then when they're done with practice, they go home in their backyard and they hit off the tee, or they have a trainer, or they go to the gym and they lift weights and all these things. And I like to remind people that that doesn't have to end when you stop playing sports. No matter what it is that you're trying to do and you want to do, or that you are currently doing, still requires practice, and I think a lot of times people feel weird about it, about going home and practicing work, because it's like, it's work. I'm not gonna go home but if you want to be good at something, those reps are in value. I mean, they're so valuable. Like, and especially at a young age. I mean, I remember I'd get mail and I would read my mail in my voice, that I would read stories on, and I would just continue every chance I get to practice somehow. And I'll give you a quick story. And when I was 19 years old, I was working at Safeway grocery store, while going to school and while interning. And I remember my first day, I was a courtesy clerk or a bag boy, and I'm bagging groceries, and it was like playing a game of Tetris, right? Like there's an art form to it, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I looked over at the guy next to me, and I mean, he's just flying through. And I remember going home that day, and I was like, man, I want to be better at this. I don't want to be a bad bag boy. And so I took all the canned goods and everything is out of my cupboard, and I lined some bags up, and I just practiced bagging groceries. And one of my buddies came over to the house and just saw all my groceries out, and me doing this, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I told him, I need to get better at this. And he thought it was the funniest thing. And I remember at the time thinking, like, yeah, I guess it's kind of weird. But then as I got older, I realized, like, no, that's what you need to do.
Mhm.
Because if I just show up to work and I just try to bag these things on the fly, you're going to continue to struggle. And yeah, over time, you're going to get better, but you can cut that out completely in that time of development, big time, if you're just spending more time on your craft and you're practicing. And so, my advice would be, never think anything's beneath you, never think anything's lame. Like, if you want to even look in the mirror and practice, you're on camera, or if you want to, play a video game. I would do this. I do this for all my interns to this day. I asked them, "Do you play video games?" They said, everyone says yes. I said, "All right, what do you play?" "Oh, I play Madden." So I was like, "All right, well, this is what I want you to do. You're gonna play Madden tonight, regardless. So go home, play a game of Madden. When the game's over, pause it, write down all the stats from the box score, and write me a story about this game that you just played and email it to me. And then we'll go over the story." Because then it's just a chance to work on writing, and it's just another story that you write, and you never know that story that you write from that Madden game might be eerily similar to something that you see later in your career, and you've already kind of worked that story. You've already crafted that, and so that's my piece of advice: is never think anything's too lame when it comes to your development. Try to find new ways to practice and continue to work on your craft when it's not game day, when it's not just you at work.
Well, well, thank you so much for taking time a few minutes to be able to talk. Congratulations on your fifth award. I know it's well deserved for sure, especially with all the work that you've put in, all the hours, all the practice, and definitely see it playing out in your career. So congratulations on that, and thanks for spending some time with me today.
My pleasure, Jeffrey, and looking forward to your development here in this industry, and I'll keep the seat warm, man. Maybe you'll be taking over for me one day.
Hey, maybe you'll be in Hawaii. You never know.
Right on.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.